What is going on, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by nerds of wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio, and my guest at this very time is Mike Skyros. Mike, what is going on? How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's good to hear your voice, man. I'm chilling.
Yes, we are in
Yeah,
business. We had a little technical difficulties there, man.
yeah.
Mike, thank you so much for coming on the show today, man. I really do appreciate it. I heard a lot about you. I seen you wrestle a few times at Tesla Strength up in Connecticut. The last time I saw you was when you wrestled Alec Price for
Oh, yeah.
the
And he's
K1.
crazy. Yeah.
Yo, Alec Price is so good. It was for the trophy, if I'm not mistaken, that K1
Yep.
Classic, right?
That is the K1 Classic Trophy. K standing for Kowalski, as in Killer Kowalski,
Look, Kowalski.
New
Yep.
England institution. So that was really cool to be able to wrestle him in that match.
Yeah, it's insane. I ask this question a lot to a lot of my guests. 2020 was a crazy year. 2021 is shaping up to be okay. Uh,
Yeah.
how have you been during this crazy time that we're living in?
I've been very fortunate. I have a good outlet to train currently in a safe manner. I have a lot of good outlets to perform in a safe manner, whether that be warehouse or studio style shows with just bare bones crew, or a couple shows I've been to with uh, social distance, masked, sitting, all of that. A lot of people haven't been able to get in a ring, and I have, and I consider myself fortunate for that.
That have you always been a big fan of wrestling? And that's awesome to hear that you were very fortunate to get inside the ring. A lot of people haven't really had
Yeah.
the opportunity to do so. I'm assuming you're going to be at that next show
Yes.
next week, April 3rd,
Yes.
for the Shank show. So I'll be there as well, man.
Awesome. Glad to hear it,
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
hell yeah. For the nerds who really don't know who the Moonlight Son, Mike Skyro
Yes.
is, tell us about you, because this is my first time talking to you, and I know we've been friends for a while on Facebook, and
Yes.
I know you heard about What's Up Wrestler, and I want to know more about the Moonlight Son.
Yeah. I'm a wrestler I'm based out of Syracuse, New York. I wrestle in the New England area, upstate New York, Pennsylvania, a little bit in Canada. I am very much into the sport aspect of wrestling, so I'm very much into tactical wrestling, strikes, submissions, etc. That's my forte. In terms of myself and how I like to present myself, you hear the name Moonlight Son, and you will think of a darker sort of uh, like somber presentation, and that's what I go for. Everyone wears black, so do I. I have a lot of moon themed stuff on my gear. I try to lean into like the horror element of it as much as I can. Not horror, but that dark element of it often, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it.
I love your whole character. Because I like I said, I seen you wrestle at Test of Strength in October, and then the one in September,
Yeah.
when wrestling first kind of opened back up for Test of Strength. If I'm not mistaken, you had sort of like a Venom character when you wrestled against Alec
Yeah.
Price.
So what's fun in terms of wrestling, at least something that's worked for me, is I like to use everything I can to get into a certain focused, aggressive mindset for a match. And I was perusing the internet. I was looking at this mask maker in Mexico because I had Moon Knight masks made previously, and I saw that he had made a Venom mask. And I thought, oh, that's cool. It's got the tongue on it and everything. So I decided to make a few entrances with that, and with the October Test of Strength show being close to Halloween,
Right.
kind of fit. He
I was,
kind of got
I
the
was gonna
jump
say.
on me. Yeah, right at the beginning of the match, he got the jump on me before I could even take the mask off. So I wrestled like the first half of that match in the mask, which was different, but it was fun. Made good photos.
Right. I was like, yo, is he ever gonna take his mask off, or is he gonna
Yeah,
wrestle with it on the whole time? Like, what's happening? I'm
yeah,
like, I thought he wrestles without it on. Are you a fan of Marvel and Venom and everything like that?
absolutely. So
Yeah.
Moon Knight is my guy. I actually have a couple Moon Knight figures here.
Oh, well, look
Uh,
at that.
yeah, so he's been my guy for a little bit here. I'm into not not a ton of characters. I really focus on a few characters. So like him, I like Iceman, I like Wolverine, Punisher, Venom,
Right.
obviously, Spider-Man. But I dig the superhero thing. I'm trying to get into Red Hood as well. So if anyone has some good links for Red Hood stories, send them at me.
Before we get to know more about the Moonlight Son, Mike Skyros, tell the nerds where they can follow you, where they can find you. I'll be sure to drop those plugs at the end.
Yeah,
Again,
absolutely. I'm real easy. Everything is at Mike Skyros, MikeSkyros. So if you search at Mike Skyros, you will find me on every platform.
I
Easy.
always I always tell all the wrestlers who I interview, I go, you guys get very lucky that you get the same handle. I mean, I have the same handle too for my Instagram and Twitter. Very fortunate because sometimes like someone will have the same thing and you gotta throw like
Yeah.
a like underscore in there or something or like the a one. But yeah, guys, definitely go check out Mike Skyros. Talking about some superhero Marvel stuff. Have you always been a big fan of it? I'm kind of a fan, but like I'm not like hardcore fan. Like, I like
Yeah.
Spider-Man. He's my favorite Marvel character. I was 6 years old when Spider-Man came out, the one with Tobey Maguire. So Spider-Man will always hold like just like a special place in my heart. That's the first one I was introduced to. So
Yeah. It's especially with a lot of the Marvel characters, I think people relate to their different struggles or their different flaws actually, and I
yeah,
think that translates to wrestling. Like I got into wrestling like a little later than most people, but I think part of the fun of it was a lot of them are real life superheroes. Like you got these larger than life personalities, you got the colorful outfits, you got like the exaggerated presentation, and they settle a lot of their problems through violence, which is what
right.
superheroes do. So there's a lot of parallels there.
What year would you say you really got hooked into wrestling? Because a lot, like I said, a lot of people I talked to, they got hooked into the '06, '05, the ruthless aggression era, or the attitude era.
Yeah, I missed the ruthless aggression era. I missed WCW.
Oh
I miss
no!
ECW. I had to catch up on that later. So I started watching in like 2002, 2003, like right
Oh,
when
that's
like
ruthless
brand
aggression
split.
era.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
so
really dug all that. Like that's really like the stuff that kept me watching for years. Definitely the
I,
ruthless aggression stuff.
I thought you were gonna say like, oh, I started watching like 2010, 2011. I was like, oh god, that's
Yeah.
what an awful year
No,
to
no.
start.
I managed to catch
No,
some of the good stuff.
'03, '03, '04 is good though. That's
Yeah.
like as '02. I think '04 was like the ruthless aggression era. So you started at a very very good time. '04, '05, '06 was the best years in wrestling. Like nobody could argue with that except the ruthless aggression era, of course. Who are some wrestlers that you were instantly hooked to?
So the first match I really remember seeing and paying attention to was Jeff Hardy versus The Undertaker in that ladder match for the Undisputed Championship on Raw. So those were both my guys for years. And then Kurt Angle was in the mix. I was really into Eddie and Chavo as a tag team and Eddie as a single later. Like pretty much a lot of the SmackDown guys ended up being like who I followed.
That match you just named, man, the Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy. Holy shit! Oh my
Yeah.
god, what a match! Oh my god, what a banger that was! Still one of the best matches in my opinion. Very
Oh,
underrated. Not a lot of people talk about it. Not a lot of people know about it. I saw that match for the first time when I got the ladder match DVD because I started watching wrestling in '06. So kind of I didn't, and I was also like 11, so I didn't have access to internet. I couldn't like look up all that stuff. So I
yeah.
had to get all these DVDs to do my research. And one of the ladder matches on that DVD was Jeff Hardy versus Taker. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a good match. Oh my god. Oh my
Yeah.
god, this is so good.
Yeah,
Holy
it's
shit,
one of
man.
those where you really like you really get a sense of like this underdog dude like doesn't have a shot. Like the Undertaker was so like outmatched him by so much, but the fact like he fought through it and he got like that close, that was the fun of it.
I love how Taker raised his arm at the end. He just like like
Yeah,
threw him to the ground. He's like, holy shit, you're a
yeah,
crazy bastard. Like,
yeah, and that
damn.
did everything for him.
Oh, dang, he went over, like Taker put him over that night for sure. That
Yeah,
like said that I mean Jeff Hardy was always over, but like just Taker raising his arm right there after that match just put him over to the top right there.
yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
How did Mike Skyros start training to become a professional wrestler? How old were you when you said,
Yeah,
okay, this is what I want to do?
yeah. So like a lot of people, this used to be super taboo to talk about, but everyone who wrestles is now was into it. So I did the backyard wrestling thing with my friends, and like we had fun. And eventually we were like, man, this kind of hurts.
Yeah.
Uh, this we kind of want to like give this a real shot and like see if we can do it and like wrestle in front of people and all that. So we looked around. Eventually, we found the school that I'm still at today. It's called the Institute of Pro Wrestling in Syracuse, New York. I
Nice.
started there in the fall of 2012, and I was 19 years old when I first started, and I've been there ever since.
That's awesome. You're around the same age I am. I'm
Yeah.
you're what, 28 around there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm 26. Just said, what I want to ask, if you don't mind me asking rather quick about you a little bit of backyard. What's the worst bump you've taken in the backyard? Like, did you do some stupid shit?
Honestly, I let everyone else do the stupid stuff. Like I really didn't do anything that crazy. I just remember we used to wrestle on the ground sometime,
Oh
and
God.
this dude gave me a side slam on the
Oh,
ground, and I thought I was never going to breathe again. Like I'm like, this is it. I was like, "Ugh!" Like I had like the death rattle in my throat and everything. It was I thought I was gonna die like at that park
oh my God. Why would you take that? That's crazy.
because we were dumb teenagers. Like what else are you gonna do?
Right, right. And then you finally stepped foot into the ring for the first time training and you took your first back bump. You're running the ropes for the first time. You must have felt like, okay, this feels better. This is what it should feel like.
Yeah, like it's. And I think a lot of people overlook like just being able to be in a ring and like use a ring is such a privilege, and I still get like caught up in like, man, sometimes I look around and be like, man, this is really cool. Like I'm in a ring, like I'm just running around hitting the ropes, and like they're just letting me do this. Like
Right.
it's
What was the first bump like? What was the first back bump you took? Like after you took that first bump, what was going through your mind? Were you like, okay, this is where I want to be, or were you like, hell no, I don't want to do this?
I think it wasn't even I don't even specifically remember that moment like off the top of my head to be honest because I had been it wasn't correct and we didn't know what we were doing but I've been falling down in people's backyards and like makeshift rings and all that for years before I got in the pros so like it wasn't even that it was like okay I'm in a professional ring like I'm doing this right like
Right.
I was just really happy to just be in that space at that moment.
Hell yeah, man. That's great. And it seems like your career is taking off like crazy. After your training, after I think so. After your training was done, what was the first match you got booked in? What was going through your mind during your first match?
Oh, dude, I was nervous as hell. So like, it's coming up actually. It was I gotta look up the date, but it was like the beginning of April 2014. It was in front of like maybe like 50 people at this like middle school. It was a three-way too, so that was even more fun. But
Triple
it
threat. Oh
was
my god.
yeah. But I'm very fortunate. Like once again, like the three people in the match were myself, a person who was my best friend at the time, who I've been training with like ever since I started, and one of our instructors. So we knew each other enough to like we just had him put together the match, and the match came off like it wasn't great. Like we were still super inexperienced, like learning, but I thought it was. I look back on it recently. I'm like it really. So I just remember like being nervous, like having like all the the feeling of being sick, like before going out, and like
Of course.
once you go out, like the adrenaline was going. I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. Like we're in front of people. This is great.
50 people is a lot of people. Like it may not seem like a lot of people like who are listening to like compared to WWE wrestling in front of 20,000 people every night, but for your first match to wrestle in front of like legit 50 paying customers must have been like, I can't fuck up. Like oof, oh my god, okay, here we go, here we go.
Yeah,
This is real, this is real. And for a triple threat match, like I've heard a lot of stories about battle royals. I heard twice actually about people debuting like they were a guest in the audience and debuting like later on that night. I'm like, what? Like that's badass. Just to debut,
yeah,
as like a fan and like, no, I'm a wrestler. But triple threat, I never heard of triple threat. But it's must have been a big relief to wrestle with your trainer because I feel like
yeah,
your first match should be against a trainer. They trained you for 6 months and 2 years, so you should be like, hey, you're gonna wrestle me. Let's see what you got.
yeah. Because like, well, I mean, I agree. And the thing is, um, it's just the way it is now. But a lot of times, like new guys just end up in the ring with other new guys, and it's
Right.
it's a lot of pressure, and it's really tough to learn that way. So I was I was in a good position to be in there with someone who had been around like forever and knew what they were doing.
I absolutely love that. After that first match was over, it must have felt like so much weight lifted off your shoulders. You
Yeah,
must have been like, "Hey, that wasn't the great. No matches up for no first match is perfect." But you must have been like, "Okay, I got it out of the way. I know it's
yeah.
gonna be like next time." After that one, what were some other promotions you were booked at? I know, like we said in the beginning, you wrestled for Test of Strength a lot. You're the current K1 Classic trophy holder there. Uh,
Yes.
what were some of the other promotions that you worked for after your first one?
Yeah. And after that match, I was just happy that I didn't mess up anything and I didn't like no one got hurt. But like after that, I actually didn't get to test the strength for quite a while. I started wrestling a test of strength at the beginning of I think it was the end of 2018 or the beginning of 2019.
Oh, okay.
And I started in 2CW, which was Squared Circle Wrestling based out of Syracuse, New York. I wrestled almost exclusively there for like the first year and a half of my wrestling career until they closed their doors. And then I went to Grand Slam Wrestling, GSW, out of Scranton, Pennsylvania, was the first place that really gave me an opportunity to like come back like regularly. And I did a little bit in Pennsylvania. I did a little bit in upstate New York for places like Excite Wrestling, which I still perform at regularly. I did Southern Tier Wrestling. I've done uh, like places in New England, like New England Championship Wrestling had me on a few times. Test of Strength, New York Championship, like a lot of just different places just gave me a chance to like come back regularly, and I tried to make a foothold there, and it's served me well so far.
I mean, that's all you can do as a wrestler.
Yeah.
In New England, you live in New York currently, correct?
Yes.
So we're very fortunate to have so much wrestling. Like
Yeah.
it's to the point where, as a fan and as a wrestler, even as a wrestler, it must be extremely overwhelming because you're like, hey, I want to get my foot in there. I want to work there. I want to work there. I want to work there. But also, wrestlers are like, hey, I'm just happy to work anywhere. Whereas fans, we're like, okay, there's all these wrestling promotions. I gotta like, do research on that, like discover all these new guys and
Yeah.
girls. It's crazy. It's a lot. With that being said, what are some promotions that you haven't been able to work for and that you would really want to?
Sure. So I would really like to work more in the New Jersey area. I think that's a place that's really like hot right now in terms of a lot of people are having a lot of crazy matches. A lot of people are getting seen. A lot of the fans have their eye on that area. I
Right.
also think promotions in New England, such as Chaotic Wrestling, NEW, Limitless. I've wrestled once at Beyond. I would love to wrestle at Beyond again. They're still a very popular place and they set a lot of the trends that are happening. One thing I will say in addition, though, is I've been very fortunate to be at places that have given me the ball and let me build my stock a little bit. Like to build on your point from earlier, there's a ton of wrestling out there, and a lot of people don't want to look at it like as a business. Like, oh, I want to wrestle
Hmm.
everywhere all the time. And I've tried to find places that find value in me and want to give me like different opportunities to kind of attack. And if you get three or four places that really want to let you run with the ball, that's how you get popular, and then everyone else wants to use you. So
Absolutely. I love that. Well said. Beyond is one hell of a promotion. I love Beyond Wrestling. I know you wrestled there. I have the name written down. His name is Dakota. I don't want to get his last name wrong because I don't want to sound stupid. Maybe you could tell me his last name, Dakota, if you're listening. I'm sorry. You
yeah.
wrestled for Beyond one time, and I know
Yes.
that must have been you uncharted territory too. Correct?
Yes. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I wrestled Dakota Orion on Uncharted
Orion.
Territory, and
I would
that
say
was
Orion.
December of 2019. And I was very fortunate. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to blow up this person's spot, but there was an opportunity for a person to suggest a person to appear on Beyond, and my name was suggested, and my name was accepted, and that's just the way things happen sometimes. And it was very cool to wrestle on Beyond. Like that one match on Beyond, like I lost, and I still like my social media blew up. Like I got as much good press that night as I had gotten out of any match. So that was a
Yeah.
very cool experience.
You see, I was gonna say Dakota Orion, but you said Orion, so thank God you said it and not me.
Yeah.
I say it how it's spelled. I laughed earlier when you said you wrestled in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I
Yes.
don't know if you watched The Office, but The Office immediately popped right up to mind. Are you a fan of The Office?
The Office isn't my deal, man. Like it,
Oh,
if you like it, that's all good. I'm not gonna tell you what to like, but it never caught on with me. Scranton's a horrible town, dude. No offense to anyone from Scranton, but there's nothing going on in Scranton, PA.
I
There's a
heard it's like really
Sheets.
boring. There's a what?
There's a Sheets gas station slash restaurant, and that's the best thing they got going.
How were you booked at Scranton? How did they? What promotion was that for?
That was for Grand Slam Wrestling, and the reason I was booked for that promotion was there's a wrestler that has gone out of his way to help me out a lot. His name is Brute Van Slyke. He's out of upstate New York. He had a hand in my training, and when there was a time that I wanted to go out and explore new places, he gave me that opportunity, and he's been super cool to me over the years, and he's still around doing his thing, making headway, and it was very cool to have that door open for me.
Hey, anywhere, right? Just to get your name out there. I'm
Yeah,
surprised. I'm surprised, like Scranton, like because I know Scranton is like I honestly thought it was fictional. I didn't know it was real. I thought it was just made up. I was like, oh, it's
correct.
actually real. No shit. When you said
The first
Scranton,
time we
PA,
pulled
I
into
was like, it's
town,
real.
actually,
Huh?
the first time we pulled into town, we stopped at a four-way intersection. We looked left and we saw a drug deal happen. So Scranton, PA.
Damn, you don't see that here. I'm in Connecticut. I never saw any drug deals. Oh, that's funny. No, like you said, I was like, wait, Scranton's actually real. I was like, it's not
Yeah,
fake. It's real. No
yeah,
shit. Oh man. Talk about your appearance on really quick for next week for Test of Strength, April 3rd. What are your thoughts going into there? I'm excited for that show. I can't wait. I love going to Test of Strength. My first show
yeah,
for Test of Strength was back in October. And I'm from Connecticut, and I've never been to Test of Strength until
yeah.
last October.
So the cool thing about Tessa Strength is over the last year, it's developed into sort of a melting pot for all these wrestlers from New England, Jersey, and the New York City area. And we've had a lot of good talent show up. Even some of the people I mean, all the people I've wrestled there have been phenomenal. I wrestled Pillman Jr. there. I wrestled Sammy Diaz there, Alec Price, Max Caster. All these like super talented dudes. We're having Jacob Fatu, the MLW World Champion, there wrestling
That's gonna
Hard
be
Hitting Bobby
insane,
Ocean. That's going to be nuts.
dude.
If you look at the card's stacked, like top to bottom, no cliche. The card is absolutely stacked. So in terms of that show, we're just looking to knock it out of the park because like we've been chomping at the bit to really get back to it since October.
Right. Yeah, and I was so upset when they were like, "Oh, our next show's in April." I'm like, "Oh, damn, really? April? Shit." I
Yeah,
was like, "All right, it's okay. I went this long without wrestling. I could go a couple more months. I'll be okay. It's all right. No big deal." And it sucks. I go to a lot of Northeast wrestling shows. I
yes,
haven't been to one in over a year. It's like this has been the longest time since I've been to one since haven't been to one since like 2018. So I'm like, I'm itching to go back to NEW, bro. I cannot wait to go back to NEW.
yeah.
Uh, After 2021 is kind of in normal after this whole COVID is you know done. What do you see? Where do you see yourself after by the end of the year? What are your goals?
Yeah, I a lot of people were in my shoes, but like I was building a good bit of momentum for myself literally right before the pandemic hit. Like I had some really cool matches lined up, and it's really out of your control. Things happen, and a lot of people have been hit hard by the pandemic, but I'm looking to regain that momentum and then some. Is it realistic for me to say I'm going to get signed by the end of the year? It's not really my call, but what I want to do is put myself in position that those people know who I am and those people are watching. And I think that is something that I will accomplish.
You never know, bro. You never know. You get signed
Yeah.
by the end of the year. Hey, you never know. Going back to 2020 really quick before we end. When 2020 impacted a lot of people, how were you able to keep such a positive mindset?
Support system. I'm I've said this a few times, but I'm very fortunate both personally and professionally to have a good support system around me. there's a lot of people out there that feel very alone and are by themselves, and I want them to know that they're not alone, and we got the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of this pandemic thing. Just hold the course, and a lot of us are looking forward to getting back and entertaining you as soon as possible. So I'm very fortunate for the people in my life that have been there to like keep me going through all this nonsense.
I love that, bro. You said that very well. Mike, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was a lot of fun. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning, and you are left. Mike Skyros left. Um, all right, so that has been an episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. Thank you everybody so much. And we are back with Mike Skyros. Hold on, let me bring it back.
We almost made it.
It's all good. It's all good, man. This close. This close. It's all right. It's all right. That's funny. Mike, thank you again so much for coming on the show, bro. I really do appreciate it. I hope to have you on again sooner rather than later, and I will definitely see you at the Test of Strength show.
Absolutely.
Next
And
week,
before
April
we
3rd.
sign off here, first, everyone that can get out to that Test of Strength show Saturday, April 3rd, Waterbury, Connecticut. Like I said, stack card. If you go on the Test of Strength social media, you'll see it. I also wanted to thank you, Justin, for having such a professional presentation, for really hyping up these interviews. I'm not saying this just because you're sitting in front of me. I'm really impressed by the way you approach this, and you can have me on as a guest anytime. We can set it up.
Hell yeah, thank you, dude, so much. That really does mean a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, below is Mike Skyros' social media. Go follow him on Twitter and Instagram at Mike Skyros. Same handle, piece of cake. This has been an episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio. Peace out, nerds.